She likes to call this program On the Couch with Khrys. We met at the Rusty Ball and just got started talking, and I asked her, I said, what is the K.A.S.S.I.E project? What's it all about? And she was like, oh, well, it's amazing. It's to help survivors of domestic and sexual abuse to begin the healing process of going through recovery. And I was like, well, I'm a survivor of both sexual and domestic abuse, so I would love to hear more about your program. And so we got together, we had a few meetings, we felt like God was really doing something as far as connecting both of our organizations and wanting to bring those together. I'll be sharing a little bit of my story this evening. One thing when I share, I'm not going to share any graphic details because I don't want to trigger anybody, especially sometimes if you get into specifics, it can bring up some things. So I'm not here to talk about the abuse or dwell on the abuse. I really want to talk about the recovery process I went through and some of the problems that I had to overcome along the way. Even some of the problems I'm still issues I'm working through as well. I'm going to take the first half to just talk about some of the issues and things that I had to work through. And the reason I share these is because I always have people coming up to me afterwards saying, oh my gosh, I thought I was the only one, or I didn't realize that this is common for somebody that is a survivor. And it just lets people know that other people also experience some of these things.
One of the interesting things when you and I met, after Christian and I had an opportunity to sit down and talk, there were so many similarities between the two of us. Not only do we have the same first name, our stories and the things that we've gone through and the challenges that we face. And that's a part of the project. That's what the connection cards are for. So when I ask you to fill out a connection card, it's your name and your email address, and hopefully you'll be able to connect with another survivor, someone that you can start sharing with and start your healing process as well. But I found that we had so many things in common. And then when you said that you wanted to share as well, I mean, that was such a phenomenal thing and a blessing for me, because listening to what you've gone through, and I haven't even gotten to some places that you've gotten to yet as far as your healing. So you've been a source of strength for me as well, hearing your story and the things that you've gone through. So I'm glad that you'll be here to share that with all of us.
A little bit about my abuse is I grew up with having physical abuse by both family members, both parents. And then throughout my adult life, I also experienced physical abuse as well. It happened within a mission organization. It happened when I was volunteering for a theatrical group. It happened when I was at a party with a mutual friend. So I have experienced more domestic violence in my life, and I didn't really acknowledge that until I met with Khrys. I have focused a lot of my recovery on my sexual abuse, and I didn't realize until reflecting back how much the physical abuse actually affected me as well. And with my sexual abuse, it happened as a child. Also, as an adult, there was 3 instances where I put myself in positions to be abused again. Thankfully, God kept his hand upon me and protected me from that. But as I grew up, I had suspected that I was abused, but I had forgotten the memories as a child. And so that's one of the first issues that I had is my memory was repressed. Even to this day, I struggle. I have the worst memory in the world. I can't remember people's names. I struggle with that. And for many years, I had repressed the abuse. And I had a wonderful spiritual mentor who came to me, and as I was working through just in my growth and healing and in my faith growing as a Christian, she offered to do what's called theophostic prayer with me. And that's a type of prayer where you ask God to take you back to memories or places in your life, and God brings revelation in those areas. And I knew that when she had told me about this, I wasn't quite ready, but I knew eventually it was something that I wanted to do. And when I finally got to that point, I went back to her and I said, I think I'm ready. I'd like to try this theophostic prayer. And we set up a time during that week prior to doing this prayer. I had called my mom and I said, Mom, I'm going to do this theophostic prayer, and I just want to know, I have these certain memories, and is there any thing that you can share about this? My mom knew exactly what I was talking about. She was very vague and surprised that I would even recall any of this. And she started out during our conversation saying, well, something may have happened, but I don't think anything did. And I think she was just kind of in shock, not expecting to have this kind of conversation. A few days later, right before I was going to meet with my friend, I called my mom up again. Then she gave me details, and she did tell me there was abuse. I think she had just got to a place where she could share that with me. So it was confirmed, and it's funny, before even sitting down with my friend and doing the theophostic, God was already working. So really that meeting with her was just like, help me. I'm learning all this, that yes, I have been abused. So she kind of just comforted me and helped me to start out that process of working through that.
So go back with me when you talked to your mom. The instance that your mom was familiar with this happened when you were a preteen, adolescent. What? How old were you?
She can't confirm the time frame. I think I was between 3 and 5 years old.
And when you went to have your theophostic prayer, did I say that right?
Oh, gosh, I'm old. I think I was in my late 20s or early 30s.
Okay, so you repressed
that. It's probably my late 20s.
For many, many years.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. One other thing, with memory repression, it's a coping mechanism. And often you'll hear this along with post-traumatic stress disorder. And those two kind of go hand in hand. They talk about people that have come back from war, how they have trauma, and how sometimes they'll black out or have amnesia or forget a lot of the trauma that they experience. And it's a way to cope with things that they're not able to handle or process at the time.
And it's never really associated with just your average Joe or your everyday people. Mm-hmm. But we too suffer from PTSD because of the traumatic situations that we've been in.
And even though I don't have the memory, your body and your subconscious actually still holds on to those memories. And so one of the things I learned along the way is that you can have a smell. Like if your abuser used a certain cologne, and then you smell that cologne, that can trigger the memory for you. Also, you have pain that's held in your body. If you were choked or anything like that, and if someone were to come and put their hands around you, that might trigger it as well. So certain senses can trigger repressed memories. For me, it's heavy breathing. When I get grossed out, and I always have. I just knew that when I would hear somebody breathing, I'd be like, ooh, that just gives me the creeps. So that was one of the struggles that I dealt with.